So git branch. If you see here, we are in the main branch. So we need to go to the class 9. Git checkout hyphen class 09. So we can switch on to that class. If I say like git pull, yes, it is clear now. Now we need to work on the string attributes, which we worked to some extent in the last class. But the last remaining string operations, if you see FGHI string attributes dot py. String attributes are such a big thing that we have still a lot of strings. So to understand, I yesterday showed you the concept of IPython. You can work with IPython from there onwards. If you take something like name is equal to, say, Python. If I say name, it will say the type. If you ask the type of name, it says string. As it is of string type, if I ask dot, I told you to do click a dot and a tab. Then it will give the list of all the attributes. So if you see, most of the attributes we have already touch based. The remaining things, if we notice, is into the zfill. You remember I told something about the zfill earlier. The same operation we can see again. If you see here, so anything we can fill with a zfill. Name is a string. If I do like a zfill of say 3, what will it fill? If zfill ensure the number of characters should be that much. So minimum it expects 3. If the string has less than that, it will do. Or if I say like 7. Now did you see? Python word is having 6 characters and it prepended it. It will never append. It will prepend only every time. If I say 9, 3 zeros will be added. In the same fashion here you can notice. If I give like a number, then it is much more clear for us to understand. And what if I have a negative value? It doesn't matter. It will not treat like a number, right? Even if you give negative like this or hyphen middle, it makes no sense. It will treat it like a single string. So nothing to think of logic. Next, we need to think about the formatting. This concept is called as old style string formatting. This is the concept of D. D says about integer. Percentile D means decimal. You are saying like, hey, create like a string. Mainly, in which cases it will be used is dynamically if you want to create a string or anything, we can use it. So if I give like percentile D, so and if I give something percentile, and if I give some number, it will try to go to that place. We will go to this string formatting shortly. So there are like different kinds of things. So percentile D, if I do like 5D, it will prepend with zeros. Means it will ensure that 5 digits are there. If there is any shortage of digits, as it has only 2 digits, the remaining 3 digits were filled with zeros. Same like zfill. Similarly, if I do percentile D, it will ensure that 5 spaces are reserved. Did you see that it is not doing any zero because you didn't write a zero file? So it took like this and made it empty. If I write like a percentile 5 plus D, 5 digits were reserved and it placed as plus 42. Minus similarly. So minus 5. So means like plus 5 and minus 5D. Observe difference. It will place in the starting, whereas minus 5D means it will place this space in the last. It's kind of like a magic. You need not do all these things. These are all the existing functionalities you can leverage. For minus 5D, so if you see minus 5, for that if you write a 0, it will not write zeros at the end. Generally, you expect what? For plus 5D, it is doing like this means for minus 5D, it should do. But it will not add in the zeros because if zeros were added in the end, it makes logically different, right? For numbers and others. So that's the reason they didn't do that. But fine. But next thing, in terms of working with string positions, is there three attributes called as center, L-just means left justification, right justification. If you go to any word processor like Windows, Microsoft Word, or like Google Docs or anything, you will have to center and place it in the end like that, right? If I take this example, you will notice it. If you see here, it is creating a string which is of length 25 and it is placing in the center. The remaining characters, it is making like empty. But the remaining characters, if you want to fill with some character, I can give that fill character. Did you see what happened? Instead of empty spaces, it is returning this character. But if you write like some other character, like star, did you see? It is preparing and appending with the stars. So the same thing happens if you do like a L-just or R-just. Means instead of center, if I say like L-just, then what will happen? It will create the string in the starting left side and the remaining thing spaces in the right. Similarly, R-just will do the same thing in a reverse direction, where place the string in the right side and the fill characters in the left. So like that we can place. Next, coming to the case of this old style string formatting. What is this old style string formatting? What it does? So string formatting. So basically, what is the business of this string formatting? In which case we need to use? If you see the most common examples, daily we will get some messages. So you will get some emails. And do you think like all the emails and these messages will be composed by someone? No. A simple example. If you go for a bank and withdraw some amount, or like you made some purchases, will there be someone typing that message saying that, hey, in your account so and so some amount was deducted? No. So it is like a programmatically done with a template. Everyone creates like a template and try to replace the values. So this kind of formatting will be helpful there. So if I see here, so generally in string formatting in Python, there are three types of things. Old style formatting. This one generally you see in like C, C++ or everywhere, the common old style. Then Python came with something called as new style. So if what are the limitations which made to go to the new style and what are the limitations which made to go to F strings, I will tell you all of that. First, we will focus on the old style formatting. Old style formatting means you give a placeholder. So in that placeholder, we should give. It's like in a bus, you are reserving the lady seat, so only ladies can sit. Or like, so children seat, only children can sit, only elders can sit. Like that, we have a reservations, right? In the same fashion, you can think. You will tell that in this place, only integer will come. In this place, only float will come. So you are ensuring that only that type is coming. So if you pass any other type, it will throw an error. So let's see how it is working. Generally, if you take any example, you can give like this, where you see, you give a string followed by a percentile, followed by a couple of values. If you have single value, you can give directly also. You see in these examples, this is the syntax. This is how we need to write. One example I gave, where I wrote my lucky number is percentile D. So if you observe this example, you will understand something. 02 basics, 02 string operations, clear, and Python JSON. So if you see in the first example, did you see even the percentile D came? Because you treated it like a string. You didn't do this extra operator, right? The same modulo operator will work in this way also. It's not like a reminder. The same operator is used for multiple purposes. So now if you see, when you applied this operator, you are passing the values. When you have more than one value, you can pass in a braces. But if you have single value, you can pass directly also. That's the reason these two statements are giving the same answer. If I print again, you will notice it. Both were same. Fine. Now, sir, what will happen if you give like a floating point value for the same thing? It is expecting an integer, but can I give like a float? So yes, those both are like same family, right? Then what will happen is like the floating point value you give will be converted to an integer using the int built-in function, and you get the answer. So if you see, the same thing is happening. Even here also, you got an integer. But okay, sir, I'm able to give the integer, and instead of an integer, I can give a float also. Can I try giving like a string? So integer family is different. String is different. So string we cannot expect. So if you see in this example, you will notice that it is having percentile d. It is saying that we cannot do it. So a real number is required, not a string. So from this onwards, you will understand what are the problems with this kind of old style formatting. This is a primitive. This is where everywhere, even C language, C++, everywhere the same thing. But they expect the exact data type to go. Means we should upfront know what data type we are passing. So if you see in this example, I'm doing like a percentile yes. As I'm passing a string, I should ensure that it should be a percentile yes. If I'm passing a float, I should ensure it is percentile f. If you are giving an integer, this is fine. You know, integer, float, all these things are same family I told, right? They can convert to one another. Using the float built-in function, it will convert to float and you get it. Percentile f is a float. Can I give false? Yes, because I told it's all single family. Int, boolean, float. So complex, all these they are same family. You can get it. So no problem. You got it. When I did percentile f, I got a floating point value 0.000. So when I did like a floating point value, I give it 12, it converted to a floating point value. But if I give 12.34, I got like this. But one thing you can observe is after decimal, you can notice that around 6 characters will come. So 6 decimals will come post decimal, post digits post decimal. So this is what something you have understood. So next thing you need to notice is the string operations. If I convert anything to a string, this is a very interesting thing. If you give like percentile yes, you can convert anything to it. So string is the only thing which it will not throw any error. If you mark like a string, any data type can be passed. See, boolean, none, integer, float. So a long number and like string, everything we can do. Similarly, there is one more type called as REPR, as I told you earlier. Sir, what is the difference between these two? Same, instead of percentile yes, you are percentile R. Means in the backend, it will using the REPR built-in function. Then what will happen, sir? If you observe both these sets, both are exactly same, except when you go for a string. Did you see? When you go for a string, so REPR is adding extra quotes, but in other cases, both are exactly same, right? Fine. As I told you, I will tell its use cases down the line when you go to exception handling and others. Next. So not only this, we can use even the string formattings for various representations. So conversions also happening. If it is same family, representations. So we have like for a digit, octal, hexadecimal, binary representations. So if you have a decimal value, if you want to represent in octal form, you write percentile O, then it will automatically convert to octal. So there are two ways to convert anything to an octal from decimal. Either you give this percentile or you can use the oct built-in function. The difference is this, when you do like an oct built-in function, it will prepend by this 0O. In other cases, it will just give as it is. So 34 became 42. It doesn't mean that it is converting. It is like octal number. Similarly, hexadecimal, the same thing. Percentile, capital X or small x, and you give the hexadecimal function. But for binary, there is nothing like a percentile B. This is one limitation with this old style formatting. Similarly, if you have a string, till now we know a string like this. But sometimes if you want to take only a single character, then we should use something called as percentile C. So generally, most of the people will use percentile S, irrespective of whether single character or anything else. But sometimes if you want to ensure that only single character should come, we should rely on something called as percentile C. If you pass more than one character to percentile C, it will throw an error. So you can see that on yourself. Similarly, if I go for like percentile F, till now I told that this is a floating point value. Whenever you are giving, I told 6 digits post decimal. 6 digits post decimal, whether you have a value or not. So small capital F or capital F doesn't make any difference. Both will give the same answer. See, even if I give a very big number also, it will give only 6 decimals. Beyond that, it will not give. Right? Now, in the same fashion, for the same floating point values, there is an alternative representation. Instead of percentile F, we can go for percentile G, capital or small g. What it does means it is trying to round off the things. Did you observe? It is not giving all the 6 decimals post, right? Post decimal, 6 digits are not coming. It is trying to give the absolute number. So you give only 2 digits, you got it. But if you give a very big number, it is trying to round off. If you observe carefully this part, you will understand that. The highlighted part. When you give a percentile F, after 1, what are remaining things are there? It is just ignoring those characters, right? Percentile F. Whereas percentile G is kind of rounding off. So you can see that after this, it's not taking the remaining. It's kind of rounding, right? So that is the difference between percentile Z and percentile F. And for the same floating point values, there is another representation called as exponential. When you give any large or small number, for better representation, we can use an exponential format. And next, a simple example for you to visualize is a common value called as pi. Hope you all know math module has something called as pi. Pi is like a very large number. Generally, if you ask, it will give till 16 digits, pi. But when you ask these all representations, you can notice the differences. See, if you see percentile F, percentile D means what? It is converting that to an integer. Observe that it is converting to integer. Then if I do percentile F, it is converting to float as it is, post decimal 6 digits. Instead of 9-2, as next digit is 6, it became like 9-3. Lastly, so we have like 9F, means you are reserving 9 digit space. This is very interesting. You are reserving totally 9 digit space, and within that, so you are printing your number. Whereas if you take the same example down, let me print it here. Yeah, you see here, 9 digits you are reserving and you are printing it. But in the last case, what you did, you told that, hey, I want these 9 digits. 9.3 means what? I want 9 digits to be reserved. 9 digits were reserved for you. But post decimal, I want only 3 digits. Observe 9.3 means 9 digits should be reserved, but post decimal, only 3 digits. So it will give like that. So now coming to the real world use cases, where how people will use these things in real world. I told the example of a bank account statements or SMSs that you are getting and everything. So if you see, people will use like this. You have a big string. We have multiple things like a template. You try to replace your value. You give a percentile D, it expects an integer. You give a percentile F, it expects a float. I told about 10, 10.3 and all these things, right? 10.3 means what? 10 digits should be reserved, but post decimal, it should have only 3 digits. And if you observe carefully, did you see that it is 10.3? 10 digits were reserved, means before that it is empty, right? 10 spaces it got. Similarly, if I do like a 0, 10t, 10.3, means instead of prepending with an empty space, it is prepending with zeros. So like that we can take. Let me take one more example. So not every time we want a single value. I can think of multiple values. Here I mentioned two strings, percentile yes and again a percentile yes. I am taking two strings called as Uday and Prakash and I'm printing both of them. Next, in the same fashion, if I go for the next thing, observe this case where I am printing two things. In the first case, I have a big string, multiple placeholders, but am I doing any formatting? No. So then it will come as it is. But in the second case, I am doing a formatting and I'm passing three values. So here the biggest challenge is the number of formatting things and the value should exactly match the data types in the same order. So zeroth value will go to the zeroth place, first value will go to the first place, second value will go to the second place. If I execute it, you will notice the same. My name is Uday. I am 99 years old, paying a tax of so and so. So it's interesting, right? So the same thing can be replaced in future with some other values. If I change with instead of Uday with something else, it will come. Next, if you see in this example, what is the difference? Both are exactly same, but one thing you are noticing is the second value instead of an integer, it is a string. But the second position means first this position, it should be like what? Integer. But you gave like a string. Will it work? No. It will throw an error. So among the given values, the number of values also should match. The data types also should match. Exactly. But sir, so for this also they came up with some hack that if you don't give like a placeholder of different data types, if I give like all percentile R's or percentile S, both will convert to a string, right? No matter what data type you give, in both the cases it will work. Did you see? But when you do percentile R for strings, it will add an extra quote, but others it will take. So this is the foundation for going for the next format called as new style formatting. But even in this case, one another problem is that you need to match the same number of values. So here you pass it like three percent placeholders, but you give only two values. It doesn't work like that. It expects the exact number of values. Similarly, if I go for the next thing, you can see that here I have placeholders. You have, if you observe, it's not just placeholder, you are having some label also. Means you have label. Until now, you are passing a tuple of values, right? So all values like this in a tuple. But for the first time, you're using something called as a dictionary. So this is a new data type. We call it as data structure. You will learn about it afterwards in the next chapter. But this is how we can work. So, and the last point, so I want to conclude with the whole style is that, so the same data types need to be passed. And if the number of values are changing, so it would be difficult. Means we need to pass the exact number of values and others. So, but one hack, what people identified is like, if you're converting everything to a string, then do no problem, right? So with these inputs, they thought of thinking that no matter what data types comes to us, ultimately it is string character, right? Why can't you convert everything to a string? So fine. So with those evolutions and others, they come up with another thought called as a new style formatting. So the old style formatting means you give a string, formatter, give the values. But in new style, you give a string, within the string you need to write this flower braces for the position placeholders and you give a dot format. So this is the difference between these two. So how generally it works? Just to let you know a small hack. So someone asked me this question. So I wrote it. What it is saying is like, sir, what if you have a braces within a brace like that? Nothing. If you just have one brace, you will get your name as it is placed. If you have two braces, it is thinking like getting the brace, not the value. And in the three braces, if you will get content also within the brace. That's the difference. Hope you understood now. Next, going further. The real use cases of it is like, You need not worry about what data type and others. You just give placeholders that I will pass two values. Did I ever specify what data type I want? No. I'm just giving two placeholders. As I told you, right? The hack in the old style formatting, we're converting everything to a string. That's the easiest way. So whatever you give, it will convert like a string only, and it will take. So next, if you take some example, in this case, you can give the specific positions of it also. Means zeroth value will by default go to zeroth position. But if you want any changes, you can give like that also. There are two problems. One problem was solved, right? In terms of different data types. And in terms of the number of values, that problem also was solved. How they are solving, I will tell. So basically, if you go for like in these two examples, you will understand something. You see, in this case, you are passing two placeholders. You gave only one value. The same problem is there in old style also. If you pass two values, you need to pass two values. But sir, if I want to use only single value, you can do like this. I passed a single value, but I wrote the position as 0, 0. Means if you have exact same number of values, you need not write anything. So it is optional to write if you need. But if you have the less number of values, you need to explicitly write the positions. Now both the problems were solved, right? Not just these two problems, we can do much better things if you go for new style programming. In the new style formatting, if you observe what you can see, if you just do a percentile yes, you get the string like this. Observe, you get a string. But if you do like a colon, you can do much more magics. After calling if you are adding like nothing, nothing will be there. It is same. But after colon, if you are adding like a comma, did you observe for readability, how you do on a pen and paper for every 3 digits, you add like a comma, right? Just to show. Or like if you are writing a underscore, every 3 digits, it will add an underscore. Or if you like a hyphen, you write means minus, plus, like this. You get the corresponding things. So this is kind of like formatting better. And not only this, similar to what you do in a alignments, means like Z fill you have, right? So zero fill. So filling with the zero values. After colon, if you write equal to 10, means means totally it is reserving 10 digits. But it's not doing anything. But before equal, if you write like 0 equal to 10, means here reserve 10 digit spaces and pre-fill it with zeros. If I say like A equal to 10, means reserve 10 digits and the pre-fill with the character A. So like that, you can do anything. So it is very interesting, right? In the same logic, if you are thinking about the alignments, means left alignment, right alignment, I told, right? So instead of using LGest, RGest and others, we can do the things much more simply here. If I say 20, the arrow less than symbol, it is pointing to the left side. So that's why it's happening what? All the values will be aligned to the left side and the white spaces will be reserved in the right. But totally it will reserve 20 spaces. Next, going for the right alignment. In the right alignment, you can see that it is placing it in the right side. Center alignment in the top. There is nothing like down, but this is how it works. Similarly, before that alignment, if you write like a fill character, it will replace that with it. If I write like a fill character, it will replace like that. So next, not only this, we can do further things like formatting. What are the functionalities you have in the old style? All the functionalities are there. In addition, also we have something else. If you remember in the old style formatting, when I'm converting to the binary and other representations, I told that we can do for all data types except for like binary, I told. But in this case, we can do even for binary also. If you observe here, after colon, you can give anything. So based on what you give only, you get it. If I say percentile B, I get a binary format. If I say percentile O, octal format, percentile X, so hexadecimal format. So like that we can do for all. And not only that, so what are the functionalities are there? You remember we did like a percentile 10D, 10.3D, like that we did, right? Where we are reserving 10 digit spaces, but post decimal 3 digits like that. In the same fashion, we can do like this here also. After colon, so before colon, you give the position number. After colon, formatting. 9, percentile 9 means, so 9 digits will be reserved. But 9.3 means 9 digits will be reserved. But post decimal, you get only 3 digits. So that's the difference between these two. Next, going further, if I say like, sometimes if you want to represent the percentiles, so something like a percentile, if you want to represent, so you can do like a percentile after that. If you give any value, it will multiply it into 100 and give like a percentile. Percentile means by dividing by 100, right? So to show to divide by 100, first it will multiply by 100 and give the end result. Now coming to the final results. The most practical real world examples, same like in the old style, is like this. If you see in this case, name, age, salary, I give 3 values. Or if I do in multiple lines, if I want to get like multiple line strings, I need to go to triple quotes, I told, right? Triple single quotes or triple double quotes. So we can use, and if I do path 3 values, it will replace that. Or if I go for like further big example, so the same thing I can do, but the difference, did you observe? The same thing I did, but I gave the positions. Generally, if you see the positions here, this would be like 0th position, first position, second position, like that, right? So we can use the same thing, 0th position, first position, second position. You give the same positions, you get the same answer. So similarly, if I want to further give, say like, you see, instead of one name, I am writing multiple things. Means the same position can be reused multiple times as of our need. We can use in multiple places. So not only that, so sometimes if you want to don't use a particular value which was passed, you need not even use. If you observe closely, you will understand. There are 3 values, but did you see in all positions you are using 1 only? Means 0, 1, 99 only you are using. Other things use it past, but you are not using. It's up to you whether you want to use or not. But it is a feasibility it is supporting. At the same time, so we can also do the things with a labeling, because if there are 4, 5 lines like this, it's fine. What if you have big paragraph statement? You have multiple things. You cannot remember what is 1, what is 10. If there are 20 values are there, you cannot remember everything, right? It's very difficult. For that, they gave some concept of labeling. You remember in old style, I told that we need to use a dictionary for labeling. So here, it's not that difficult. Very simple. You write like some name, and here in the dot format, instead of passing the values comma separated, you give like a name is equal to so and so. So this name, capital NAME, though you defined, it will be having a validity only till this string formatting. Outside that, if you ask what is this name, it throws an error. But it will do the same thing. The advantage is like when you have a big statement, you need not worry about what is the 0th value, first value every time. When something is changed, it will be changed exactly. Now coming to the real practical problems. So let's take the example of a real world transaction. If you see in this example, dear customer, your account ending with so and so last 4 digits was deducted some amount on transaction time. Thank you for visiting shopping. Visit again. So don't you think you will get a message like this only? Now I'm passing some values, customer equal to so and so and others. So using the labeling concept, I passed it. Now did you see? You got like dear Vijay Malia and others. So in the back end, when you are getting an SMSs and others, emails, they will have this kind of template. Then they will pass the values to the template like this. And this is how you get your message, final output. Similarly, if I go like one step ahead, so in future, you will learn something about a dictionary. So whenever you have a label and a value, instead of passing all the values like this, optionally, you can do one more way. means you create a dictionary of the same things. Dictionary is like a data structure where we will store like a key column value like that we store. And we can just pass the dictionary. See here, this concept is called as dictionary unpacking. For the first time, you are seeing two stars. It doesn't mean that it's doing a power operation. Same power operator can be used for multiple purposes. In this context, we are using like this. Then what will happen when you do a dictionary unpacking? So as dictionary is having like this, when you do like this unpacking, it will convert to A equal to 1, B equal to 2 like that. So here also you are expecting like that only, right? So when you do an unpacking from dictionary, it will do. So instead of you doing two things, they came up with one more attribute called as format map. Till now we are using format. Format map will what it does? Whenever you have a dictionary, you just pass it. I will ensure to unpack them in the behind. So that is the point of dictionary unpacking. Now, coming to the case of string formatting, to conclude of what all things we have learned till now. So is these things. And we have like multiple cases we have gone through, starting from say like this. So this is like a old style formatting where you give the entire string, but you pass all the values, you give the exact placeholders and do. Second, you have gone for like enhancing by giving some placeholder. That much time space we need to reserve, 5 digits others. Next, we have gone for the new style formatting. So in the new style formatting, you also reserving the positions also if needed. And also it is occasionally we can use only few among them, not everything you want to use. But when it is more, we have used labels by placing the labels and passing the values. But then we understood that we can create a dictionary and we can use the dictionary by unpacking it. Then, so there is something called as format map, which expects a dictionary directly and it will do the unpacking in the backend for us. And then the last thing is about the F strings. In F strings, next I will tell, is about you define the variables outside, you write like an F before it. You use the same names. You need not create again a dictionary separately. You use your variables only and we can create.